or as an emergency challenge. Hello, good day. And who asked that? This was the leading I had. I'm coming your way again. I'm Dr. Grace John-Ugwuanya coming to you live today. And there was something that came to my mind today while I was doing my devotional. And what really struck me was we live to give and we give to live. And I began to wonder, why should I be living to give and giving to live? But then a story of a river came to mind while I was reading, and I'm going to share that with you. And it has to do with two seas. It said there are two seas in Palestine, and both of these seas are fed by the Jordan River. So the Jordan River is the giver, and it distributes to these two seas in Palestine. And one of the sea is fresh, brimming with life, meaning there are fishes inside, splashes of green adorn its banks, trees and extend their roots towards that river that is flourishing, and somehow it stretches out their thirsty roots and it sips its nourishing water and makes those trees flourish. But then the other sea that is being fed by the Jordan River has no life in it at all. No fish can live in it. No one can drink from it. And the river is very harsh and salty. The irony of this is that these two seas get their source from the river Jordan. But how is it that one is flourishing while the other one is not, and nothing living exists in it? And here goes the story. What's the difference? It says the Sea of Galilee receives water from the Jordan River, but it also gives out. And that's where the title of this broadcast is coming from. Living to give and giving to live. Because as the Sea of Galilee receives, it also gives out. And this gives room for life to flow through it. Fishes are in it. Trees flourish around it. There are greeneries around it because it doesn't just receive, it also gives. But then the other sea that has no life is the Dead Sea. And because it doesn't give out, everything around it is dead. The Sea of Galilee gives, and for every drop that flows into it, another drop flows out. But the other sea, which is the Dead Sea, hoards its water. Every drop of water that comes into it, it keeps it. The Sea of Galilee is a life-giving sea. It gives and it lives. But the other sea gets and keeps, and that's why it's called the Dead Sea. And when I read through that, I began to think and ask myself, how can I be more productive? How can I sustain my life? And it has to do with me not just living a life for myself, but living a life that gives out. Living my life to the point where I am not just living to give, I'm also giving to live. It's a two-way approach. One thing that can make our life sustainable, one thing that can make our lives to become a reference point is when people come in contact with us and we don't just receive from them, but we are also an addition, a source of blessing, a source of inspiration, a source of hope, a source of joy, a source of blessing to them. So when people come in contact with me, I am not just at the receiving end, looking for how I can exploit them, looking for how I can take from them, I can get from them. Are they also benefiting from me? That's why I still come to the basic aspect of what we're talking about today is live to give, and give to live. Are you living to give? And are you giving to live? When we look at this clear description I have explained to us about the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea, the defining factor between the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee is that the Sea of Galilee gives out. It doesn't just receive, it doesn't just accommodate and accumulate. It also has a means through which it gives out to others. And that's where its sustainability comes from. It is sustained on the long term because it has a means of empowering everything that surrounds it. But the Dead Sea does nothing but to keep and hoard everything it gets. I'm saying that because how much of impact, how much of relevance your life can have, your life can dish out, your life can reflect, depends hugely when you make your life as a sacrifice. I'm not referring to sacrifice of you going to be slain, no. I'm saying it from the perspective of your life being a source of inspiration, a source of information. People come to you and they get refilled, they get refreshed. Why do you also have your source of refreshing, your own source of receiving? You are also a means through which other people receive strength, receive energy, receive the zeal to push towards life. And why am I sharing this? I don't want us to miss the point here. When you hoard and keep information, when you hoard the blessings you get and you keep it to yourself, you die. I'm not talking of physical death. I'm talking of the fact that even while you are alive, people don't benefit or see an advantage in your life. Yes, you're there in marking calendar, but you're not a source. You're not a source of life. You're not a source of inspiration. You're not a source of blessing to others, because all you do is to receive and hoard, receive and keep, receive, and you don't want other people to be better than you, so you keep everything to yourself, forgetting that none of us has forever to be on earth. And it's in your ability to be a blessing and an inspiration to others that sustains you, that sustains your reputation, that sustains your name, that makes you legendary, because you're living to give and giving to live. Always remember that when you give generously, when you live your life to be a source of inspiration and a source of blessing to others, your life becomes a source of impact. Your life becomes a source of inspiration. And when I talk about living to give and giving to live, what are the things you can give? For those of us who are career persons, there are information that you can give that would make the life of others better. For those of us who have been able to grow to a level in our career, have I reached this level of my career and all I'm doing is hoarding information because I don't want other people to pass me? So anything that would make them better off in career, I keep it to myself. I hoard the information. I want to be the local champion. I want to be the go-to person. I don't want them to know more than me. I want to reach a point in my career where when there is an issue, nobody else can solve it. Nobody else has access to such information except me. That's not a way to live. Because when you have that mindset that your life, you live your life to give, and you give as a lifestyle, there is a long sustainability of your impact, even in that field that you're in. So there are information. I'm not talking about trade secrets for those of us who are in business and we have competitors. I'm talking about life-giving information that can help those who are either younger in the profession or in our field of endeavors, but that their coming to us gives them an added advantage because we have chosen to become a source of inspiration to them through our giving lifestyle of information. What other thing can we give? We'll talk about material resources, either material, physical things. I had a time when I was doing lots of, if I come to the educational sector, I was doing lots of empowerment program in schools. At the initial phase of the empowerment program, it was more of a book donation project, but then we're going to schools to do inspirational talks. The first batch I had was in 2018, where we had distribution of about 150 copies of my first book, Unclog the Clog, to about 15 schools, 10 copies per school in the libraries. And we combined it with motivational talks in those schools, and we could see young people who are still in the early phase of life, the early phase of career, being inspired to take steps towards their life. For those of them who were having academic struggles, we could share our story, not just from our peak in career, but from how we were in the beginning phase of our career. And we found ourselves being a source of inspiration. It is one thing to have attained the level of success that some of us have attained. It's another thing to be a source of inspiration to those who needs it. And when we did that, the truth of the matter is, sometimes when I think deep on how much of impact that empowerment program we did in 2018 had, I cannot calculate or give a numerical value on the impact that program had in the lives of the young people that we reached out to. Our second phase of empowerment program also occurred in 2019. That's the Career Flexibility Project, where we had over 1,500 copies of my book being distributed across different states of Nigeria. And when I looked through that in my head, and all I asked myself is, why were you doing that? And I'm like, I was passionate towards young people. I wanted to give back. I wanted to use my story, my experience, to share to these young people. And when I think through that, I am sharing this because when we live our lives to give, or we make giving a lifestyle, we will understand that this cuts across different aspects. It's not just in tangible things, in information. Another point I'll talk about, I've talked about giving information, material resources. I'm also going to talk about giving love and help. There were times when people are in need. I've had times when I've had people who had to reach out to me to share an experience or something they are going through. And what those people need at those times is not money, is not physical help. It's just understanding, it's just love, it's just a listening ear. I spoke with a lady quite lately, and she said that she was going through some personal struggles, and that she had looked through the people around her and mentors that she has around her. And the only person she could think of who should explain what she was going through and will understand was me. This is somebody that we don't keep in touch regularly. We could communicate maybe once in 6 months or once in 10 months. That's how infrequent, or I don't know whether I'm using the right word. That's how infrequent, that's how irregular our communication is. But when she called me and said, it was a chat, and she was like, yeah, I've been going through some stuff, and I just know it's you I can talk to, and I know it's you that can understand. For me, it struck a chord with me that someone who doesn't communicate with me regularly, but in some dicey moment of her life, she thinks of who can understand, who can profess solution. The solution I'm talking about was not a physical thing. I didn't give her a dime. I didn't give her money. I didn't give her food. It wasn't a physical need she wanted. It was understanding. It was love. It was somebody who could talk to her, and that burden she was feeling in her heart goes away. And when we were done talking, I could feel the excitement in her voice. I could feel the relief that, oh, thank God I spoke to you. I'm saying this because when we live to give and give to live, it becomes a lifestyle that is fulfilling. We know that we're living for purpose. We're living with purpose. So always have this at the back of your mind that living to give and giving to live is a lifestyle that you owe yourself and you owe your generation. One thing I always say in most of my broadcasts and I tell myself is the impact that our lives has on people is closely connected to how we choose to share and pour out of ourselves to the people that God brings our way. When I say the people God brings our way, it sounds like a spiritual term. But the truth is, everybody I meet on a day-to-day basis, whether in the bus, whether in the workplace, whether on the road, whether in the market, there is a purpose why I met them. And what am I going to share to them? What impact will my life have on them? What impact will their life have on me? And when I live to give, everybody I see, everywhere I find myself, I will position myself to be a source of blessing, a source of inspiration, a source of hope to those who need it, a source of love to those who need love, a source of care to those who need care, a source of help to those who need help, whether physically or in material, depending on what the occasion demands. You know, I had a time when, I know for the past 1 year, it's been more like I've been on a low pace because of other commitments on so many things I have been passionate about. I know at a point in my life, I was actively doing the orphanage outreaches and welfare outreaches to either IDP camps, orphanage outreaches, and at those times, there were times we had sponsors, there were times when there were no sponsors, and I still had the burden to go ahead with this project. And the aspect of fulfillment I had in all this is that you're reaching out to these people, if it's orphanages, these children who cannot pay you back. You know, sometimes when we talk about giving, we tend to do it more like a tit for tat. I will give you because you gave me. If you don't give me, I will not give you. But when we reach a point where we now begin to live our life and give to people who cannot pay us back, you go to an orphanage outreach and you're giving to these children and you know that they are not going to pay you back. Or you're going to visit widows who are in need or in IDP camps for those times when you had outreaches there, and you're giving to these people in their fragile state, in their state where there is unrest. They've left their home because of unrest in their locations, and they need to eat, they need clothing, they need basic needs for their day-to-day living. And you're there showering this love, showering this help for people who cannot pay you back. When you live like that, always know it that there is a fulfillment that comes from it. A fulfillment that life will always pay you back. Seed time and harvest does not cease. Whatever we sow, if I sow good deeds, I will receive good deeds. If I give wicked deeds, I will receive wicked deeds. That's how life is. Seed time and harvest. So when I and you and me live a lifestyle of giving and make living our lives to be full of giving, and we make this our motto, the truth is, who will pay us back? We don't know. But life will pay us back. God, who sees our heart in secret, will definitely bless us for being a source of blessing and inspiration. And I'll be ending on this note, that we need to make giving a lifestyle. We need to be a source of inspiration to the people that God brings our way. We need to live to give and give to live, because when we live a lifestyle of giving, we become a source of blessing, a source of inspiration to the people that comes our way. I'll be ending this on this note and saying again, Happy Independence Day. And I am praying that for this month of October, every good and perfect gift that God has in store for you will be your portion. He will order your steps in your going out and your coming in. Everything, the lines will fall for you in pleasant places. With this, I come to the end of my broadcast, and I will say, God bless you and have a wonderful October. Thank you very much.